It's time for the health segment, and I have been joined once again by Dr. Kelvin Owusu, and it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we are still on the subject of breast cancer, and we want to discuss about post-surgery, the different things that you need to be aware of, mindful of, and then also take note of, so that the process is effective and your healing comes as quickly as possible. All right, doctor, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good to be here again.
It's good to have you here. Yeah. So let's talk about post-surgery. What are some of the things that we need to remember or take note of,
Okay, so I think the first thing we need to understand is that most of the time, breast cancer affects one breast. But there are two breasts.
Okay.
And so the fact that you've had cancer in one breast and have been treated does not mean that you cannot get cancer in the other breast.
One. Okay.
And so it's very important that even after the surgery has been done, we still continue our monitoring. But let me also add that even in the breast that the operation was done, you could have a recurrence of the breast cancer in the breast that has been operated on.
Oh, wow.
And so there are two things here.
Okay.
One is that we need to take care of the breast that has been operated on to monitor to make sure that there's nothing new happening there again. And the second thing is that we need to make sure that the other breast, which didn't have an issue before, also remains normal. Or if there's something that starts developing over there, we pick it much earlier. And it's critical that because you've had cancer before, you have to understand that your chances of developing cancer again is even much higher than the general population.
Oh,
so this is critical information that we all need to be aware of.
Okay.
And it goes for men and women as well. You know, we keep talking about the women, forgetting that men also have breasts.
Yes.
So it's important that we add them to the discussion.
Okay. So the other question I have for you is, when we look at the issue of reconstruction, when does reconstruction actually take place? Is it during the initial surgery, or you have to wait and make sure your person is clear before you do reconstruction?
Okay, so reconstruction is something that we are now doing in Ghana, actually. But the thing is, for most of the time in Ghana, the reconstruction is done a few weeks or even a couple of months after the primary operation was done, to allow enough time for healing and the skin to stretch enough to accommodate the implant or the procedure that they are going to do. But elsewhere, it can be done at the same time. So they would remove the breast that has an issue, and then they would do the reconstruction at the same time. And so that you have one operation, and then you leave there to go and start your rehabilitation and all that. But in Ghana, most of the time, what happens is that the primary operation, when I say primary, I mean the operation to remove the cancer is done first, and then healing will take place so that the skin would now be prepared to receive the reconstruction procedure. That's what happens, and it's happening in Ghana now. So people who have had breast cancer can, of course, it's a bit expensive, unfortunately. It's a new procedure, so it's a bit expensive, but once you can afford it, it can be done for you.
Okay, all right. So we've been joined also by Dorothy Amuah, who is actually a CEO of Chick Optics, and she's a breast cancer survivor as well, and we're going to hear her story and what the journey has been like since she heard the news till now. Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Okay. So I've been talking to doctor about the post-surgery aspects of the breast cancer journey. What was it like for you when you first heard the story, the news?
Right. Okay, well, I was first diagnosed with breast cancer, stage 3 breast cancer, at the age of 29, which is, at that particular time, was very young, and actually still is quite a young age to be diagnosed with breast cancer. So for me, though I'd heard the word cancer, I'd never really sort of encountered anybody with the disease. So, of course, when you're told you have cancer, you're totally devastated. And automatically you think that you're going to die.
The end of life, yeah.
But it's up to the patient to actually do their own research and see as many healthcare professionals as possible and educate themselves as much as possible and see what options you have, be it surgery, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, whatever. So for me, I started doing a lot of research, and I saw a physician who took a good look at my case and suggested that because it was so aggressive, and the younger you are, the more aggressive the disease is.
Okay.
So because it was growing so rapidly, that they recommended that I had a mastectomy. Okay, and there are various options. You can have a lumpectomy, which I'm sure the kind doctor said that you can have the lump removed. But with that, you have to make sure that the doctors have to make sure that all the margins are cleared, and there's no cancer cells floating around.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's a recurrence.
Yeah.
For me, I had the cancer was in the ducts, in my milk ducts, and had spread laterally. So there was no option but to have a mastectomy, to have the removal. And being in the part of the world that I was, it was common practice to have reconstruction done. So I went into surgery for 17 hours, where they removed the breast, and then went ahead and did the reconstruction, a procedure called a tram flap. Once again, I opted to have this procedure done where they take tissues and muscles from the stomach and feed it through the chest walls and then do the reconstruction with that.
Okay.
So it's a very tedious process, and it takes
That's
a big
long
toll.
time to be under the knife.
It is. It is.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, I'm going to come to you and ask you about the whole aggression of the cancer when you're younger. Okay. But tell us take us into the feeling, the emotions that you went through at the beginning and then through the process when you decided, look, let me do some research, let me read up, let's find out what's going on here and what are my options.
Well, of course. I mean, you're totally, as I said, you're confused. You're in a state of confusion. I remember being in the doctor's office. They did a biopsy initially. So when I found the lump, I went in to see a doctor where they did a biopsy. They put a needle in the breast and take a little piece out.
Yeah.
And then they test the cells. And 3 days later, I got a phone call to come back in to see her. I went in and, keeping my fingers crossed that it was, hopefully a cyst and nothing more than that. Yeah. But, I prep myself. I'm a very strong person in general, and I try to be positive through any situation. So for me, I mean, personally, I just sort of braced myself. Everybody else in the family were praying and, hoping that, obviously it would be nothing as well. Yeah. But I braced myself for the worst news. And I remember walking in and she tapped me on the back. Like, how old are you again? And I at that point, it wasn't good news. But then, she said to me, you can survive this. And I truly believe that also half the battle won is in the mind.
Okay. Yeah.
You've got to be really positive about it and just feel like you can beat it. But it was really very, very difficult time, very emotionally a very difficult time. The support system is also very important.
Okay.
In having the support system of your family. It's very, very important to keep you that. Yeah.
Okay. So, Doctor, tell us a little bit, because Dorothy mentioned about when you're younger, and then she was 29 when she heard it. The aggressiveness. Why is that so? Why is it so aggressive for younger people?
Okay, so generally, cancer is a disease of age. So as you grow older, so that's why you tend to have a lot more 50s, 60s, 70s developing cancer. Okay. Because there's a lot of insult. When I say insult, I mean toxins, free radicals, etc. Even diets, and it compounds over time. And so eventually the cells go haywire, and then it becomes cancer. Yeah. But when in the younger age group, we realize that there's a genetic predisposition. There are genes actually involved that predisposes one to cancer. And so you've had celebrities like Angelina Jolie who have actually done the test, and they decided they're going to go for a double mastectomy because they have that gene. And it's almost 100% when you have some particular genes that you will develop some particular cancers. And so it's not only related to breast. I mean, breast, colon, etc. They are all related to some particular genes. And the people who have these kind of genes tend to have their cancer more aggressive and also start at an earlier age. I mean, she caught it. I mean, at diagnosis, she was already stage 3. Now, stage 3 is quite advanced because after stage 3, you go to stage 4, which is disseminated. I mean, it's all over. So that was quite advanced. And considering her age, it means that the thing probably started much earlier and has grown over time, And so that's why it's important to do the self-check, actually. Yeah. Because and I think, in my opinion, I believe that women who actually, or generally people who detect these changes themselves first, they are kind of better prepared to hear the news than those who hear it first time in the doctor's office. Because once you hear it first, you sort of start dealing with it psychologically, even before the news comes. By the time you hear the news, like, okay, I suspected it. I've started the research. So what's next? So it's like you have dealt with the grief and all those things much earlier than somebody who hears it in the doctor's office. You know, because there's a phase of denial which actually costs a lot. When I say cost, I'm talking about health cost.
Okay.
You know, because that denial phase can make people not believe that the cancer diagnosis is true.
Okay.
And they spend so much time and money going to all sorts of places. And in Ghana, they will go first to the religious bodies who assure them that the thing is gone, and then they'll wait 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. By the time they come back, there's really nothing we can do. And this tends to reinforce the belief that cancer is not curable. Of course, generally it's not curable, but when I'm using cure in the sense that you can actually do something about it. But because many people come late, they end up dying or inevitably dying and reinforce that sort of belief. And so it's propagating a very wrong concept that once you have cancer, you are dead.
Okay.
You know, because once it's detected early, I mean, stage 3, and I mean, how many years ago is that?
Quite a number of years.
Yes, that's quite a long time ago, and she's lived a normal life, and that's what we want people to be aware that you can actually have cancer, beat cancer, and have a normal life from then on.
You want to say
I
something?
must add that sometimes, you know, the way of thinking is that when you find a lump in your breast, that it's cancer. It's not necessarily cancer. And I think what has happened in these parts of the world, in Ghana too, is that, you know, a lady will find, or a gentleman will find a lump in the breast, automatically think it's cancer, and go to a spiritualist, okay? And before you know it, they go around saying, oh, they've been healed, without having known that it was never cancer in the first place. So, you know, this sort of encourages other people who find a lump to automatically go and do the same. I'm not saying that God doesn't play a factor in this and that, you know, it doesn't help, but at the same time, you cannot just neglect the fact that you have to see a healthcare professional and have it dealt with properly.
Now, you said something very interesting at the beginning. You said you're naturally a very strong person, and so you have a certain attitude towards life in general. I know that you also started a foundation.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What led you to starting that, and then what have you done? You know?
Okay. Well, after my disease in the United States, I moved to Ghana, I think about 11 years ago. And I started encountering women who, you know, had the disease and at a really advanced stage. So I realized that, you know, education was lacking. So lack of education and also creating awareness. One needed to create awareness about the disease and eliminate that stigma associated with that, you know, it's something spiritual or you've done something wrong. Cancer can affect anybody. You know, it could be genetic, as the doctor said. It could be just, you know, hereditary. It could be just a cell that decided to just go out, you know, just start growing rapidly. It could be as a condition of stress and a lot of other factors, the environment. So I decided to start spreading the word, and I founded Dorothy's Hope Foundation in 2014, and with the goal to empower, educate, you know, and encourage women who have the disease, but most importantly, educate women about the disease. So we've been doing a lot of outreach work. We go to the different regions. And
we can see some images on the screen there. Okay.
We do free screenings. We screen up to anywhere from 500 to 1,000 women at a time.
Okay.
And then when we diagnose, and we have diagnosed several women with the disease. So when we do diagnose these people, ladies with the disease, we actually go further. We support them. We act as a support system as much as we can. Both them personally and sometimes their children and their families, because you know when this happens, you're helpless. This year we've decided to launch the I for Cancer campaign and take it a step further, and turn it up a notch. And what that is about is that we're still going to continue creating awareness and doing the screenings, but we're also going to try to implement programs where we're going to implement a physical unit where we'll be doing screening for various types of cancer. We're extending it to breast cancer, screening cervical cancer, prostate cancer as well. We're going to put a couple of healthcare professionals, very well trained healthcare professionals in these units in all the regions in Ghana. We start in January with the first one, and then we'll continue building them so that you can continuously go there and get screened. Because what happens very often is we go to a region, we screen, you're cancer free, and then they don't check themselves again for years. But I believe that by having these units there, that it'll encourage people to...
Fantastic. I want to come back and ask you a few more questions, but we have a video of yours and of the foundation. Let's take a look at that, and we'll come back and have a conversation.
The disease, and therefore attributes the disease to superstition, hence seek healing and assistance from herbalists or resort to self-medication rather than reporting early to a health facility. Dorothy's Hope Foundation, a non-governmental organization founded in May 2014 by Dorothy Amuah, a stage 3 breast cancer survivor, has taken upon itself to create awareness about the disease as well as bring to the knowledge of people that early detection can save one's life.
There's so much stigma associated with breast cancer and cancer in general in these parts of the world that I felt that it was necessary to talk about it. So I started this campaign and this mission to empower, educate and encourage women who are unfortunately diagnosed with it. But what is most important is creating awareness and teaching people about early detection, okay, because if in most cases, if breast cancer is diagnosed at an early stage, you can actually survive it. The survival rate is very high.
All right, welcome back. And so, Dorothy, what have you found by way of demographics? Where do you have more challenges in the awareness campaign? Where do you have more, rural areas or the cities, in your experience?
I'd say the rural areas.
Okay.
Because having said that, because you know, you go to a region and even we take the cause to the heart of the market sometimes because we know that they wouldn't come to you, you know. So we actually, for example, Bantama, we took it to the heart of the market, and then we got a better response.
Okay.
You know, the ladies came out and they were screened. They were happy that we were there, you know, because they felt like they didn't have the opportunity to go to clinics and centres that you know that could actually perform the tests, etc. But even having done that and gone there, they still wouldn't leave the goods. You know, they're too busy. So I'd actually physically go into the market and say, please take advantage of this of today. Free opportunity, free screenings, and come.
Yeah.
But it was very difficult to do that.
Doc, your experience.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with them. The rural areas are a bit more, in terms of awareness, are not as aware as the urban areas. However, there's also another group of people who are the urban poor, who are also very, I mean, you'd expect that with the number of health facilities in Accra, for instance, there'll be a lot more awareness, but you'd be surprised. You go on the streets of Accra and people just don't know. Well, it's not, okay, let me put it, they have bigger concerns than their health. Okay. You know, they are worrying about what they will eat and all that, so most people are not as concerned about their health as they need to be. But you see, breast cancer is a very expensive disease to have. Yeah, because they're expensive in terms of the cost of the treatment and also the amount of time you will spend in hospital. You know, and so if you can catch it early and treat it, because the earlier you catch it, the shorter the duration of treatment. So if you catch it early and you can get treated quickly, it's much better than when you wait for a full-blown disease, which will require an extended an extensive degree of treatment. You know, and as we mentioned the last time, the medication can also they have a lot of side effects. You need to take them, but there are a lot of side effects which will make you not productive in the period that you are on the medication. And so you have to try as much as possible to get checked as frequently as possible, so that if there's any change, it can be caught at an earlier stage and dealt with immediately. It's very, very important. And I was saying something earlier. If you have had cancer in one breast, you are more at risk of getting cancer in that same breast that is not there. Okay. And also in the opposite, in the other breast. And so for you, it's inexcusable to not go for your screenings. You know, whereas the general population will start their regular formal screening after the age of 40. You who have had cancer, even if you had it earlier in your 20s. So Dorothy will tell you that she probably started her screenings much, much earlier than the general population would do, because you are at a higher risk than the regular, the normal woman walking on the street. So you would start your screening much, much earlier than what the general population would do. You know, because we advise that once you are 40, I mean, you have to start your screening mammogram every year at least. But if you have had cancer before, you have to do this much earlier. It's very, very important.
Do you come across men, Dorothy, who tell us about?
Yes, I mean, men are affected by breast cancer, absolutely. But what I do find also that if a man is diagnosed with breast cancer, it's more devastating, because you don't have as much tissue, breast tissue, as a man, so that it tends to spread a lot faster. And sometimes into the chest walls, which can obviously, you know, is more serious. So yes, men should also definitely get to know their breasts. And you know, part of my campaign this year is, for the longest time, we've always involved men. But I really want men to also learn how to do self-breast exams. Yes,
Yeah.
you know, self-breast exams. It's
Yeah.
very important.
Yeah.
And so when we're doing our awareness campaigns, we
Yeah.
also teach men how to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I had mine done yesterday, so you can see
did?
my,
Oh, good.
I got my band to prove it. Yeah. No, but I think it's important. My question, my other question though would be, what is the attitude generally that you find with men, and how do you break through?
As in to performing, knowing about the cancer, that cancer can affect them?
Yes, and they can also be affected.
Well, I think a lot of them are in denial.
Sure.
You know, oh, I don't have breast. How can it affect me?
Yeah, but is that in denial, as in not wanting to accept it, or is just pure ignorance?
Well, I think you should answer that because you're a man.
So I think because a lot of attention has been focused on the women, most men feel there's a I don't know if they are shy to have their breast examined or to even ask questions about their own breast. And so you find that whenever somebody goes to have a talk or an education session about men and breast cancer, there's a lot of interest because that's the first time they're probably hearing that they are actually part of the people who can actually suffer breast cancer.
Yes.
And as Dorothy said, a man who has breast cancer is actually more likely to have a negative consequence, death, than a woman. So even though it's not common, only about 1% of men in general would get breast cancer. It's not common, but when they get it, it's more devastating. And so yes, you still need to also check your breast. And actually, personally, I think it's actually easier to do a self-exam for a man than a woman. You can there's not much tissue, so you can just look at your chest in the mirror and then you're like, okay, nothing has changed, let's move on. But of course, you have to do the hand motion and all that. So it's important that you check as well as often as you possibly can, and then if there's any change, you'd report to the hospital.
I struggle with something. The whole thing about knowledge, it's like the more you know, the more everything looks like a symptom of something. All right? So I recently heard a song, and the song says, don't Google your symptoms. Don't Google your symptoms, right? But here's the thing. Years ago, probably about 12 years ago, I had what I felt was a lump in my chest, right? Now, it turned out to be a boil. Okay, now, at that time, I'll be honest with you, even though I have a very strong science background, I had no clue that men could possibly get breast cancer. So in that scenario, is my ignorance not bliss?
So let me ask you this. So when you found the lump,
yes,
your mind didn't go there at all that it could possibly be.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Zero. So what I did was it began to, it was painful. So I said, look, let me go and see a doctor. And then when the doctor checked, it said, well, it's an abscess. It's a some kind of like an internal abscess. So gave me antibiotics and all of that. And yeah, eventually it was painful. But eventually, antibiotics, it went away.
You see, but the thing is, you actually had symptom of pain.
Yes.
Now, if it was cancer, that would probably be a very late stage.
Yes.
So
we are trying to catch the thing before it gives symptoms. That is why the self-examination is important. Because if you are waiting for the symptom, by the time you start noticing symptoms,
then it's too far.
It's
too far down the road.
There's no pain associated with it. Even at stage 3, there was no pain.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the only sign was the lump.
Usually pain starts in stage 4, actually. For most, of course, there are some particular type of cancer that might start with pain. But usually pain is one of the later stages of symptoms.
Okay.
So don't wait for pain. Screening literally means you are looking for something that you think is not there. That's what the whole concept of screening is. So find the thing before you are even aware that it's there. And at that point, when you actually do find the thing, when you yourself are not even aware it is there, it is usually much easier to deal with it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's more like surveillance.
Yeah.
You don't wait for the thief to enter before you put up your burglar proof.
Yeah.
No, it's already there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So screening is like putting security
Putting up your
features in
defenses
place.
already. Okay.
And talking about the pain, I remember being in denial as well when I was first diagnosed because there was no pain.
Okay.
I felt healthy.
Okay.
I'd lost so much weight, I remember, and I was fit, and so to be told that you're dying of cancer, I couldn't connect it at all. So I remember going to a physician and another physician for a second opinion and a third opinion, just to be sure. because there was no pain.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
in my mind, when you have a disease that's going to kill you, there should be
there
pain
should be pain.
associated
Yes,
with it.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, some positive encouragement to women out there, people out there actually. We shouldn't say women because now then that's what enforces the narrative that it's just women, right? So to people out there who are listening to us, watching us, and are thinking to themselves, hey, this thing just, it's kind of scary. What should they do? How should
Well,
they
first of all, it is scary.
Okay.
And I want them to be scared a little bit, so they take action.
Okay.
And that action being screen yourself, perform these monthly breast exams, and educate yourself about the disease, okay? And don't wait till the last minute. If you find something, an abnormality or something, if your nipple is oozing with something unusual, funny discharge, if you have an inverted nipple, if you have a lump, whatever it is, just please take it seriously.
Get checked.
Okay, and then don't be afraid because you can survive the disease.
Okay.
But you just have to make sure that you take charge. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much to you, Dorothy Amuah, and also to Dr. Kelvin Owusu. Dr. Dorothy Amuah is the CEO of Chick Optic and the CEO of Base Dynasty and also Black Carpet Events.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed this video.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The City Tube.
For exclusive Breakfast Daily content and other City TV programs.
Like, comment, and share with your friends.